Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm sorry for getting this out a little bit late, but I've been fighting off kind of I guess, a flu bug the last couple of days, and so my voice is really raw. Um, it's gone out on me a couple of times today, so hopefully it'll last long enough for me to do this short video. I'm probably going to do, 4 or 5 of these, maybe even more. It just depends. Um, there's so much to cover in this case, it's just crazy. There's so many nuances. In fact, I had my notes all done and was getting ready to do this. And then I watched this one video by, I don't know if any of you follow Annie Elise on 10 to Life. She came up with a theory that kind of ticks me off a little bit that I hadn't thought of it before. But she came up with a theory that I think makes the most sense. And we'll get into that. And the more I think about it, the more I think she's right on this. So we're going to go over just a couple of things in this first video. It's not going to be real long. Of course, I say that, and then I start rambling, and it ends up being long anyway. So what the heck? Um, for those of you who don't know me, I was in law enforcement for over 10 years. I worked for all levels of, city, state, county, federal. Been involved in investigations. And so, how I got into this is that I and many times binge watch a lot of the Adventures with Purpose videos. I really appreciate what they do. I really like the guys. I think they're just a class organization. And so I've been following them, and then I ran into this one with Kiely Rodni. And it really intrigued me, number one, because just the age, only 16 years old and gone, the rest of her life, not having a chance to, fulfill her dreams and stuff. And it just really bugged me. And so I've been following and watching a lot of stuff and trying to put everything together and trying to decipher things, which, we're operating on limited information. There's a lot of things that law enforcement has that they haven't released, and so we're operating on just what the information that we have. But I think there's enough there to kind of form somewhat of a base of what may have happened. I personally don't think it was an accident. I never have thought it was an accident. I don't see how it could be an accident. I've investigated many, many accidents, and this one is by far the most bizarre. Too many things. It just seems like, I don't know what it is, but it seems like that Truckee area. I don't know. I just get really weird vibes from the whole shebang. I don't know what's going on, and I'm going to get into how I believe law enforcement totally botched this thing. I cannot believe they did what they did. It just absolutely astounds me how they handled this. And I try not to be critical of law enforcement since I'm former law enforcement. When I see things just as blatant as I've seen in this, it's almost like they're trying to botch it. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just, if they're offended, they're offended. But to me, it's a no-brainer. The stuff that they did, you don't do. Especially when you suspect that maybe there's foul play involved. But anyway, I got some notes here because as crappy as I felt the last few days, I don't trust my memory. But the one thing that really bothers me is, now, I'm old school. My parents did not let me go to parties. Of course, I was ticked off that I couldn't go. But because parents know what goes on at these parties. They know there's alcohol. They know there's possibly drugs. They know how teenagers are. And teenagers are not adults. They're not mature. They do not make good decisions. I don't care what anybody says. They're not capable of making the same kind of decisions that you and I are as adults. And to let a 16-year-old girl go to this party it just astounds me. If I had a 16-year-old daughter, there's no way in hell that she would have gone to that party. I don't care how mad she got. She would not go. And the fact is, if Kylie hadn't gone to that party, she'd be alive today, most likely. I don't, and the thing that bothers me is you know, a lot of times when something happens to somebody, the basic reaction of people is they always seem to blame themselves. Well, if I'd only had done this, if I'd have told them this, if I wouldn't have let them do this. I haven't heard any of that. I haven't heard the mom say, I should have never let her go to that party. That should be one of the first words out of her mouth. Of course, that's my opinion. Not everybody's the same as me, but to me, there should be some kind of culpability that she feels. And I have not seen any remorse. I haven't seen, other than a little bit of crying before they found her, I haven't seen the same kind of attitude since. And I'm sorry. I know that they're grieving. I feel sorry that they lost their daughter. But the fact remains, you've got to be a parent. You can't be the friend. You've got to be a parent. So anyway, I'll jump off my soapbox there. But the fact that they let her go there just really, really bothers me. The other thing that I want to cover, there was actually 3 things I wanted to cover, but I'm not going to be able to do it because I've rambled on so much. But we'll get to them in the next video, and that's dealing with Sammy's interviews, reaction of friends and stuff like that. It just doesn't click. But the one thing I wanted to cover tonight is it makes me really upset when I see people giving Nick, the service driver, who responded to Boca Lake to meet Kiely and the guy. It really bothers me that people are calling him into question. The guy would have absolutely no motive to make up a story and lie. And plus, it's all recorded. Audio and video. It was all recorded. So anything that he says, if he's lying, the video would show that. So why would he lie? Another thing I find really interesting is that once this happened, the organization of the service organization that he was working for locked up the video. And so law enforcement is going to have to go in there, if they haven't already, they're going to have to go in there with a search warrant and retrieve that video. My question is, why? Why would you lock it up? A girl has died. There's a dead 16-year-old girl. And you're locking up the video? That really makes me wonder what's going on in that area. It really does. There is absolutely no reason to do that. But once law enforcement does get that video, if they don't already have it, that's going to prove everything that Nick said, or it's going to disprove it. I don't think he was lying at all. Another thing, too, is the fact that Ventures with Purpose said that they've only released about 10% of that video, the interview with Nick. So it really makes me wonder what's in that other 90%. I'm really hoping that something happens where they can release that, because I am really intrigued as to what else was said and what law enforcement is trying to cover up right now and keep secret. I'm trying to let me look at my notes here because my mind just went blank. I guess the last thing I want to cover is what I watched just a couple of hours ago with Annie Elise and her theory of what she thought might have happened. And to me, it makes perfect sense. She thought that possibly that was Kiely there that the serviceman met. He did recognize her picture when he saw it up on the flyer. When he saw the flyer like a week later, he recognized her. It's not 100% sure whether he recognized her or recognized the car, or both. But from what I'm able to gather, he recognized her. Granted, there are a couple of her friends that look a lot like her, but I think it was her. I think whoever the guy was that she was with, at first I thought it might be Jagger. And it still could be, but I don't think so anymore, just simply because when I think whoever it was that she was with, number one, what happened between 12:33 Saturday morning and 11 o'clock Saturday morning, which was according to Nick, when he met them at Boca Reservoir. What happened during that time? Also, did she put that car in neutral and feign that it wouldn't start so she could call a serviceman out there to try to get rescued? The way he describes them going, one would be on one side of the car, and the other would be on the one side of the car. She'd come to his side, and the guy would be right over there, right by her. Then she would go back away from him again. To me, that sounds like she was hoping that she could. Now maybe she couldn't. Maybe the guy had a weapon or something, and so she was afraid to outright say something to the service guy. He'd say, "Hey, call the police, help me," because fearing what this guy might do, might shoot both of them. And so she's trying to cover her tracks and trying to protect the service guy at the same time, I believe. Because every time she would, and that's why she was asking him all these crazy questions, because she was trying to somehow show him things are not right. I am in danger. And Nick, of course, thought about calling the police, but the thing is, and people are getting on him for that, but let me tell you why he didn't, and why it wouldn't have done any good if he had. Because number one, people acting weird. If you're out on service calls, you're out on police calls like I was, you're out on service calls dealing with people, you run into a lot of weirdos. Let me tell you, you run into a lot of weirdos. Now, being weird isn't a crime. If not, I'd been in jail years ago. But, he sees something that's not right. But yet, what's he going to do? He's going to call the police department and tell them what? People are acting weird? Because I can guarantee you, if he called and reported that, they would just roll their eyes at him. I just know how it is. They'd be asking him, what crime have they committed? Are they committing a crime? Are they doing, anything wrong? No, they're just acting weird. They're not going to respond to that. And I'm pretty sure Nick's probably worked with law enforcement, being in service, servicing vehicles and stuff like that, AAA or whatever it was. I'm sure he's worked with law enforcement enough to know that it would just be a wasted call if he did call him. I just know that's how it works. They're already so spread out and probably don't have a whole lot of personnel to cover a large area. They're not gonna send somebody to respond just because somebody's acting weird. But I really do think it was Kiely. I think she was fearing for her life. She was trying to get the service person, Nick, trying to get his attention in the hopes that maybe he would call the police and say, hey, there's something not right in this situation. It is a possibility that if he felt that Kiely was uncomfortable and sensed that she felt that she was in danger, that he would have called him. But then again, you'd have to have a little bit more evidence. But I really think that she was trying to get his attention, but every time she would go over by him, then the male would zoop over to the other side to making sure, because he probably figured out what was going on, figured out that she was trying to signal him for help, and so was trying to abate that. He wasn't going to allow her to do that. And I really wish she had just come out and said, but you never know what might have happened as a result. The only thing that I can't really come to grips with is what the motive was. If that guy was the one who killed her and then put her vehicle in the water, why? What was the motive? What was the reason? And that one right there, I think that we're probably not going to be able to come to grips with until law enforcement comes out with some more information. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. This is supposed to be about a 5 or 6 minute video. Of course, what is it? Right at 14:30 right now. So anyway, I'm going to hopefully make another one tomorrow. And I'm glad that my voice held out, even though it's a little bit squeaky. And hopefully this will give you some food for thought. There's a lot more things that I have to say regarding Sammy's interview, friends speaking after the fact. Just a lot of things that don't add up. Anyway, we'll catch you later. Have a good one.